Forgetting the pain in her head and the dislocated shoulder, she fought on with every ounce of strength she had. Then she heard another whistling sound behind her, but this was not the wind. Instead, she felt a thud as something hit her neck, and then there was this searing pain, as if a wasp had stung her. Except that it wasn't a wasp, it was a tranquilizer dart. She didn't stop until her legs began to feel numb and her eyes blurred. "Oh no, God! Please, no!" she cried. Chapter 1. Alone in her cell, Gemma kept an anxious eye on the clock by her bed. She was on edge, and had been really ever since the visiting order had been arranged. This visit was a culmination of many hours of hard thinking time. It had to be thinking time. There was no way she was committing her thoughts on paper. Over and over in her mind, she had played out scenarios as to how she would get out of this dreadful nuthouse. It wasn't so much the usual violence, by inmates and some notable screws who had found out about her past, but the need to exact revenge on one particular family. She wanted them dead, but she also wanted their business empire too. But she couldn't achieve her objectives in a cell all cooped up 24/7 with no outside help to call on. Or could she? She realised that the only person in the whole world who could help her would be her visitor today. She had the contacts, she had the resources through her family, and she was the one and only link to the person she really needed to see. On first glance, the prison looked pleasant enough from the outside. HMP Bronzefield was modern and not at all imposing. It was built to house just over 500 women inmates. Cassie looked at her watch. It was approaching 2:00 in the afternoon. The radio presenter had announced that this was going to be the hottest day of 2016, and he wasn't wrong. She wiped the sweat from her brow with the back of her hand and nervously fumbled inside her bag for the VO. There were so many things on her mind, but these would have to wait. She needed to get her thoughts around the person she was visiting. She had almost forgotten what she looked like. It was so long ago. In a strange way, she was excited, but she was also nervous, not knowing what this visit was really about. The visiting order had arrived out of the blue to her address, which at the time had stumped Cassie because she had no idea this woman even knew where she lived. Once Cassie had gone through the gates, the security and the search area, she slid onto the cold plastic chair and gazed around. The whole experience was new. The sound of the heavy metal doors sliding shut sent shivers up her spine. She thanked God she had stayed out of trouble. The visiting room was like a cafe, but the bars at the windows and the burly female officers brought home the reality of it all. She pulled her cardigan tighter and crossed her arms under her breasts, which had ballooned in the last 2 months. Not moving her head, she scanned the room. Other visitors were seated, waiting for the door at the end to open, from where the inmates appeared. Of course, Cassie didn't know the drill, having never been inside a police station, let alone a prison. Yet it could easily have been her. She had been brought up in the same system, foster care and children's homes. She'd also had a few naughty boyfriends. Well, it was the done thing back then. As long as the social workers could tick the right boxes, no one really cared what you did and who you did it with. The end door slid open, and 2 officers dressed in thick blue uniforms called out names. Black, Smith, then Gemma's surname, Ruthers. Cassie took a deep breath and stared. With no expression on her face, the scrawny, pathetic waif of a woman walked towards her. She could have been a ghost, the wandering spirit of an inmate who'd passed over. Cassie bit her nail and waited for the skinny woman to sit down. "Thanks for coming, Cass." Gemma looked up and tried to smile, but her face was drenched in pain and anguish. Cassie was wide-eyed and silent. She hardly recognised Gemma. "Look, Gemma, I shouldn't have come. Me old man don't know I'm here. I don't know what you want, but I can't help you." Cassie was afraid, but not of Gemma.